For our second speech on celebrating Black excellence, I wanted to discuss Barack Obama. Barack Obama grew up in Honolulu, where his mother attended the University of Hawaii. Um, he spent most of his childhood on the island growing up there. Obama was a teacher of constitutional law at the University of Chicago before he began his political work. Barack Obama later became the representative of the 13th District in the Illinois Senate. This is where he began the majority of his political work before running for president. In November of 2008, actually when I was 3, which is kind of crazy to think how long ago that was, Barack Obama was elected the first African-American president of the United States. Growing up, I never really understood the importance of him being the first African-American president. I didn't learn the significance of this until much later in life, and what a big step it was for that community and that culture. Barack Obama set a tone for the U.S. when he became elected president. He also began a great healthcare plan called the ACA, or the Obamacare Act. During his presidency, he also kept inflation at a historically low level. Being the first African-American president is the main reason I chose Obama as my person of interest for this speech. He succeeded in a field that was historically difficult for for everyone working into it, not to mention during a time where racial inequality was still heavily influencing the United States. We discussed this previously in a discussion post talking about music from this time period and the racial inequality that it was calling out and the police brutality that it was calling out. And Obama's Affordable Care Act changed the tone of healthcare in the U.S. during this time. Previous to this act, many Americans were succumbed to greedy healthcare insurance providers that not only had just money on mind, but weren't actually progressing towards better healthcare. They were just trying to make a quick buck. Obama obviously saw the problems with these companies and these policies, and he made changes. They've lasted to this day and are still being improved upon. In the presidential debate between Trump and Kamala Harris, there was actual mention of the Obamacare Act, how it's still in place and still being improved upon even to this day. With Obama being the first African-American president, during Obama's term, there was a significantly lower inflation rate than there has been in previous years. During the second quarter of his term, the inflation rate was at 1.4%. This was more than a 50% decrease from previous years. The previous average inflation rate has been 3% per term. So this decrease in inflation actually allowed for Americans to save a lot more money, as it lowered the speed at which prices were rising due to inflation. With Obama being the first African-American president, his Affordable Care Act, and one of the lowest inflation rates in history, he represents the speech's topic of Black excellency perfectly. He has set the tone for many to follow in his footsteps. Even today, Kamala Harris, who is another African-American, pushing her way through, almost becoming, who knows if she becomes president or not, and she is being backed by both Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. And to this day, he has just been inspiring to so many people. He's been inspiring to me, even though I'm not part of that community, but I have friends and people who are just always been inspired by his work and how much he is working for the people.